Good morning, and welcome to Chapel Chat. I'm Pastor Kevin Little, and this is the chapel at Rantoul First United Methodist Church. Now, this past Tuesday, the Senate voted to approve a bill that would protect same-sex marriage throughout the country, the Respect for Marriage Act. This was a pretty big deal. Now, back in June, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Justice Clarence Thomas implied that the same thing could be done with the legalization of gay marriage because the original court case used the same principles as Roe v. Wade. Now, this statement made a lot of people nervous, and that's kind of how we got to this week, with Congress taking action in a surprisingly quick manner to protect the decision that had already been made. Now, there are a couple of important things to look at in this bill. The first thing is what it does. It protects marriage, all marriage. This isn't just applicable to same-gender marriages. It applies to every marriage out there. And what that does is make sure that a marriage that is recognized in one state can't be denied in another. Or if you get married in any U.S. territory, or even in another country, then your marriage is still legal and valid wherever you go in the U.S. There were a lot of worst-case scenarios being thrown out about what could happen if we started removing protections from one type of marriage after Clarence Thomas made his statement. This eliminates all of those concerns, which is a really good thing. The other thing I wanted to look at, though, was what this bill doesn't do. It doesn't issue a blanket legalization of gay marriage across the country, which I know some people hoped for. But it doesn't force a state to change a stance that they have taken. Currently, there are 13 states that have banned gay marriage. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I have no desire to be. I'm not an expert on all of this. But my understanding was that in all of those states currently, for an LGBTQ couple to get married, they would need to travel out of that state and then come home after. This new bill doesn't change that process. The state can still keep that as their policy. But the state also will not be able to deny that marriage when that couple returns home. Now, why am I talking about this if nothing really changed? Well, the first thing I thought when this passed was that we United Methodists could take a note from this. If you've heard me talk about this topic before, then you already know where I stand. As soon as I have permission from the bishop, I will happily perform a marriage for anyone who wants it, regardless of sexuality or gender. Until then, I follow the rules as much as I might dislike them. I don't want a blanket statement issued to all churches saying that you have to start marrying everyone regardless of your personal beliefs. I want the choice to make for myself. If I can look at a straight couple and determine whether or not I feel they're ready for marriage and decide that I want to perform that ceremony or not, then I want the exact same power for LGBTQ weddings. I want my churches to be able to say, yeah, we're okay with this wedding, or no, we'd rather not do that. Either way, I want them to be able to pick. This bill locks in the legality of these marriages, but doesn't force anyone to change their positions and how they feel about performing them. It still allows for choice and differences, which I think is important. Now, that's not saying that I wouldn't approve a blanket statement saying that all states had to legalize performing LGBTQ weddings. Because then churches within those states could still make an independent decision based on what is legal and work within that, but the people who still want to be married could at least have a civil service or the option of finding a different church. But that's a conversation for those states in the future. Right now, my hope is that when our General Conference finally meets in 2024, that the United Methodist Church will finally allow us the choice to follow our hearts in this matter. That we'll find ways to work together even if we disagree in a mutually respectful way. Right now, there are no options for people who believe like I do, and the last thing I want to do is take away someone else's options. I want each pastor and each church to be able to make their own decisions within the legal ramifications of their environment. And that's why I think this bill is a step in the right direction and a solid example of something that pretty much everyone can live with. Thanks for joining me for another Chapel Chat. I'll see you again here next time. Have a great week.